Yo, it's your boy here from the Gangster Times. Please like, comment, subscribe to my channel.
And follow me on my new Instagram channel, gangstertimes_official. And please go on to www.patreon.com/gangstertimes and support the running of this channel. So Mark Fellows was found guilty of murdering both John Kinsella and Paul Massey and given a full life sentence, which means that he will never ever be released from prison. Stephen Boyle is his boy. Him and Mark Fellows were close associates. They did graphs together, and he was the hired gun spotter at the time of Kinsella's murder. But in a crazy twist of events, Boyle, who'd been boys with Fellows most of his life, turned on him and grassed him up, and he stated that he was handed a gun that Mark Fellows used in the murder of John Kinsella. And Mark Fellows shouted, "Grass, it's your fucking fault, you're a fucking grass." So who was John Kinsella? John Kinsella was a 53-year-old mob fixer, and he was an influential figure in Liverpool's underworld. So originally he was from the Everton area of the city, and in 2008 of taking part in a robbery where £41,000 worth of detergent and Easter eggs were stolen. Also, Kinsella helped out Steven Gerrard once. So back in the day when Gerrard was coming through as a footballer, there was another gangster from Liverpool nicknamed the Psycho, George Bromley Jr., and he targeted Steven Gerrard and threatened to maim him if he didn't pay up. Steven Gerrard's father contacted Kinsella and told him to talk to Bromley into leaving the Liverpool star alone. So Kinsella had connections not only in the world of sport but in the world of crime. He was a major fixer, and Fellows shot him. So what was Fellows' involvement in this gang warfare? What would Fellows gain in murdering Paul Massey, in murdering Mark Kinsella? Well, let's put it this way. He was a gun for hire. He was prepared to kill whoever he was asked to kill by anyone who hired him. So he's a hitman. And for Fellows, that was his profession. So for Fellows, there was no personal animosity against any of his victims. He was there for hire, he was a hitman, and he was prepared to kill for a price. So Fellows, who's from Sandy Lane West in Warrington, used the same surveillance techniques for both murders, which I'm going to describe now. And I'm going to begin with Paul Massey. Actually scouted the area 3 months beforehand, travelling by bike to a field opposite Massey's home, and this was all tracked because of his Garmin GPS watch. He also hired a van so he could carry out surveillance on Kinsella's home whilst he was on holiday, and to later take his bike away from the murder scene. So Fellows, who always went masked and in combat gear, unloaded 18 rounds from an Uzi submachine gun at Paul Massey, who dived behind bin covers but was shot through the heart. So this was the calibre of what Fellows could do. He was a cold-hearted hitman. Justice Davis in this case stated something crazy, and this just puts you into perspective of what type of killer Mark Fellows was. So Justice Davis said, "The casual indifference you had for what you did in July 2015 is best summed up by the fact that you made the final arrangements for the murder of Paul Massey as you sat having a meal with your partner and your young children in a nearby pub. It was within 2.5 hours of that family meal that you shot Mr. Massey in cold blood." So for Fellows, this was his job, this was his livelihood, this is what earned him the money. That's how professional he was about it. Therefore, he was relied upon by any factions of the crime units up in the northwest that he'd get the job done. So it was nearly 3 years later that Fellows off Warrington killed again, and this time he recruited a trusted friend of his, Boyle Haywood, near Rochdale. So they both travelled to Rainhill on April the 27th and spent 2 hours scouting where Kinsella walked his American Bulldogs before returning for the murder. But on that day, their plan failed because they arrived too late. So on May the 5th, they travelled to Merseyside again, this time leaving nothing to chance and getting in position by 7 a.m. So Boyle, who was the spotter, he was in a lay-by in Warrington Road in his disguised Renault Clio. This Renault Clio, it was an '06 plate, but they put black tape on it to make it look like an '08 plate. The judge stated that you were armed with a revolver and you shot him twice in the back as he walked along the farm near the M62. Wendy screamed and you went towards her, perhaps hoping that you would decide that it would be sensible to escape. That was not your reaction. To frighten her off, you fired 2 shots in a general direction. By now, John Kinsella was lying face down on the ground. You turned your back to him. As Wendy put in her evidence, it was like a film. He wanted to finish what he was doing. You shot John Kinsella twice in the back of the head and then calmly rode away. This was an execution pure and simple. So here's the thing. Fellows was out there to do a job. He got paid to do a job, to shoot Kinsella. Wendy Owen was there, his wife, his girl. He could have easily killed her, but he weren't paid to do that. So this shows you the caliber of man that Fellows was. Get the job done and get out. So Boyle decided to grass on Fellows and stated that he had no idea that there was a gun involved. Boyle thought that it was drugs or drugs money that was handed to him, but when he held the package, it was heavy, and the barrister asked him what was inside there, and he said it was a gun. So literally, he grasped on his mate, and at that moment in time, Fellows made an indication with a pen, running it across the line of the neck. They said Boyle that he had a dead man waiting. So that evening, Boyle abandoned his car and got a lift back to Rochdale, while Fellows cycled home to Warrington, and he later ditched that bike. Fellows then went about his daily life. He went to the Trafford Centre, and then he went to some pubs and clubs with mates. So in the end, Fellows was taken down by his Cody. His Cody grassed on him and sent him down for life, and he's never going to see the light of day again. But it's not ended there for Fellows. So whilst Fellows was in prison in Cambridgeshire, he was shanked by another Liverpool gangster who goes by the name of Kieran Blair. So he's a member of a notorious Liverpool street gang that runs South Liverpool and Knowsley. So in that attack, when Blair shanked Fellows, he left him with serious facial injuries. Fellows apparently did try to fight back, but he was overpowered. And now Fellows has a scar on his forehead and on the side of his face, and that's due to Blair doing him. Now Blair tried to hide that weapon in his trousers, but guards found it, and he got an additional 2 years on his existing sentence, and I believe that sentence was for 14 years, so he's got an extra 2 years on top of that. So guys, that was the story of Mark Fellows, the Iceman, the original hitman from the northwest of England. So these northwest gangsters, they don't mess about. Even back in 2012, you had Dale Cragen, who killed 2 police constables and used a gun and grenade during that fatal attack. In next Sunday's episode at 7:30, stay tuned. I'm going to be doing a video on Meggie Khan, the notorious Bradford gangster, and why he's locked up for a long time. It's the gangster times. Keep it locked, keep it real. You get me?